Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Malice in the Mitten. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my bestie, Christine Mulligan. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Trace. How's everything going? What's up, everybody out there? What are we getting into today, Trace? What are you telling me about?
Well, today I've got my hands on an oldie but goodie, and I'm going to lay money down that no one has ever heard this story before. Today's story was researched and written by Rebecca Hiers, so thank you, Rebecca. So, let's get into it. This is Season 7, Episode 22, Andrew Israelson, The Beechwood Murders, 1901, Till Death Do Us Part. Andrew Israelson was born in Sweden in July of 1870. Around the year 1889, he immigrated to Michigan's Upper Peninsula and settled in the hamlet of Beechwood, just outside of Iron River, near the Wisconsin-Michigan border. It was a small community of Swedish families, about 15 in all, so he was around things familiar in an unfamiliar land. His sister had immigrated in 1887, so he had family in the area. In 1893, he purchased 40 acres of land, roughly 8 miles southwest of Ironwood. 8 years later, he purchased another 40. He had a reputation of being a sober, industrious young man and was well liked by all that met him. Known as an expert marksman, his skill with his rifle was legendary. He was even known to give performances to showcase his skills with a gun. He worked hard to make his homestead a working, productive farm. He cleared trees, plowed ground, and had a productive farm going. He assimilated well, as there were many other Swedes in the area, and eventually joined the Order of the Maccabees, a fraternal benefit society popular in the late 1800s. In 1893, his widowed mother joined him on his farm. When he married, she moved out to live with his sister. His other siblings would eventually also immigrate to the area, and the entire family was held in high regard. In July 1900, Nels and Helena Lindstrom boarded the ship Faso in Norway with their 18-year-old twins, Amanda and Oli, and their 10-year-old daughter, Wilhelmina, of which they called Minnie. They were excited to be going and looked forward to their new life in their new country. The rest of their children had come to Beechwood earlier, so they also were reuniting with family. Their daughter Anna had come to the area in 1887, their son Gus in 1882, daughter Emma in 1883, and they were looking forward to seeing them again. Nell's brother Eric had also settled in the area and had written of opportunities in their new land. Nels was a miner, and the iron mines of Michigan were booming. The future looked bright and promising for the little family. Shortly after they landed, they purchased a farm adjoining Andrews in Beechwood. Had they known of the tragedy to come, they may have settled elsewhere or not come at all. It wasn't long before the two families got to know each other. In a community that small, people relied on one another, and bonds forged quickly. 30-year-old Andrew soon became smitten with 18-year-old Amanda. He was looking for someone to settle down with, to share his life with. He wanted children to pass down the rewards of his hard work. He wanted someone to share his life, his hopes, and his dreams with. He began to court young Amanda, and those feelings were returned. Nels and Helena did all they could do to discourage the attraction. They felt Andrew was too old for the teen girl and vehemently protested his courting. Despite his glowing reputation in the community, they sent her to school in the hope that she could have more than the hard life of a homesteader's wife. They wanted her to study and learn, then find someone her own age to settle down with, someone who wasn't a homesteader. Their dream was that she would become a lady, married to a man that ran a business or a banker, anything but a homesteader. But Amanda, in the way of youth, would not be persuaded to turn the older man down. On April 10th, 1901, the two ran off to Crystal Falls and were married by the Justice of the Peace, W.K. Dawson. At the time, she was 19 and Andrew was 31. To say that Nels and Helena were not pleased, well, that would be an understatement. The age difference and the fact that Andrew was a homesteader were the two driving forces behind their displeasure. It did not matter that Andrew was successful. This was not the life they planned for their daughter, period. The two continuously tried to get Amanda to leave Andrew, with Helena voicing her displeasure often. Helena would go to Andrew and demand that he divorce her daughter multiple times. Helena didn't hold back that she hated that the two had married. There were many arguments among the two families. Neighbors would report often hearing the two families going at each other, but the girl would not be swayed. She loved him, so she stayed. Shortly after they married, the two began to quarrel with each other. As with any new marriage, there was an adjustment period that was not helped by Helena's interference. Daily, she would pressure the young girl to leave her husband. And divorce was not easy to obtain at the time. Michigan was a fault-based divorce state, meaning the divorcing spouse had to prove the other party was the cause of the divorce. Alcoholism, desertion, cruelty, and physical abuse were often cited, but none of that was happening, and Amanda didn't want to leave him. She loved him, and he loved her. However, Andrew was growing more and more frustrated with his in-laws' attitude. No matter what he did, he could not make them happy. He had a large farm, a nice house, livestock, a garden, a good reputation as a hard, honest worker. But it still wasn't good enough for the Lindstroms. The quarrels between Amanda and Andrew got louder and louder, fueled by her parents' nagging. The neighbors reported hearing the two of them fight constantly. Tensions were mounting, and the lid was about to blow off the simmering pot. Andrew, at the end of his rope with his in-laws, told them that if they didn't stop, violence would be his answer, not divorce. The morning of Saturday, October 26, 1901, the couple had another argument. It was their worst one yet, and in a fit of rage, Amanda gathered what belongings she could carry and told Andrew her parents were right. The marriage was a mistake. She was going home and filing for divorce. This marriage was over. She stormed out of the house and went to her parents' house. When she arrived at her parents', they were, as you can imagine, overjoyed at the news. Finally, their daughter had come to her senses. She could divorce Andrew and find a man more fitting. They had finally won. It was decided that Nels would go to town to fetch the sheriff so they could get the rest of her belongings, move her home permanently, then start the divorce proceedings. Nels went out to the barn to hitch his horse to the wagon for the long trip to Iron River. Well, that's when all hell broke loose. Andrew, left behind in the now empty house that once brought him joy, was devastated by his wife's desertion. Somehow, he felt this time she meant it. Her words echoed in his head. Her parents had won. Still reeling from the fight, heartbroken, angry, seeing his future as he envisioned it dissolving, he grabbed his Winchester rifle and walked to his in-laws. The Greenland family lived in the home across the street from the Lindstrom Israelson families. The homes were less than 100 feet apart. Mrs. Greenland, hearing all the commotion, peered out of her window. What the terrified woman saw, what happened next, would haunt her dreams for the rest of her life and shatter the peace of the tiny community forever. In a rage, Andrew, with his gun, headed next door. His mother-in-law, the cause of his distress, the one who killed his dreams, stood in the doorway. He shot her once, straight through the heart. In the yard, little Minnie, seeing her mother fall, turned and started to run. She had reached the garden when she was shot through her back, with a bullet going straight through her heart. Nels, over by the barn, hitching up the horse, was taken out next, with a bullet passing through him and into the horse, killing them both. Hearing gunshots, seeing her family dead all around her, the terrified Amanda fled the house and ran towards the woods, seeking shelter. She ran from the man she loved, the man that had promised to cherish and protect her just 6 months before. As she ran in fear, Andrew, the man who promised to love her forever, put a bullet through the back of her head. It was over in less than 5 minutes. Still in a rage, Andrew set his gun aside and calmly set the Lindstrom home on fire. While the fire took hold, he danced and howled in the yard like a madman. He pulled at his clothes and his hair, and when the fire was finally raging to his satisfaction, he picked up his mother-in-law's body and threw it through a window into the inferno. He then picked up the body of little Minnie and tried to toss her in with her mother. But that fire was burning too hot, so he dropped her tiny little body alongside the house. 2 neighbors had seen the smoke, heard the shots, and curious, not knowing what was going on, were headed down the road toward the Lindstrom house to investigate. While they were still a half-mile away, Andrew shot his gun at them. But in his rage, the expert marksman, he missed. The men dropped to the ground and crawled into the woods. Andrew tried to chase after them, but they were too far, too fast, and too frightened for him to catch up enough for an accurate shot. The 2 men escaped and watched, horrified, from the woods. As they ran off, Andrew gave up the chase and headed toward his home. There, he shot his cow through the head, then set the barn on fire. His dog approached him and then, as if sensing something was off, ran. Andrew fired a shot toward the dog and missed. The dog would be the only survivor that day. Going to his house, he set that ablaze. He sat for a bit on a dry goods box with his face in his hands, glancing up now and then to the scene of destruction around him. Listening to the sound of the 2 homes burning, eyeing the bodies lying scattered like discarded toys, he sat, What his thoughts were, nobody knows. Maybe Amanda's words ran through his head. Maybe he wondered what he could have changed. Perhaps he had a moment of regret. Returning to the Lindstrom home, he walked up to his wife's body, knelt down next to her, and lifting her head, gently kissed her cheek. Lay her back down, stood up, rested the butt of the gun on the ground, put his head on the muzzle, and fired. His body fell next to hers, together in death as they couldn't be in life. Seeing him fall, realizing the horror was over, Mrs. Greenland ran to the Lindstrom house and pulled the body of Minnie from her resting spot, saving her from burning. There was no saving Helena. Her charred remains would fit in a small wooden box once the fire cooled down enough to search for her. Approaching the bodies on the ground, she saw that Andrew was still breathing. He would, however, die a few moments later. A rider was sent to Iron River to fetch the sheriff, but he wouldn't arrive at the scene for a few hours. Eric Berg, Nell's brother, was hired to move the bodies to the O'Brien embalming establishment in Iron River. The bodies were put on display at the establishment, and people came to gaze and gossip at the site. Oh my God, can you imagine that?
That's bonkers. That whole thing is bonkers. The thing is back in the day, I mean, you said it, that one house was 100 yards away, but it sounded as if everything was far enough away that nobody really knew what was happening until it was all over.
Well, we got the one lady who was watching everything through the window. So I'm assuming that's where we're getting all of the accounts from.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, I just couldn't even imagine. And Minnie was just a little girl. She was just a little girl. Bonkers.
Yeah, but it's almost like, I don't know. Like, I want to say all of that tragedy and trauma she would have been left with for the rest of her life. She would have been a little bit of a cuckoo bird herself.
Yeah.
Had she survived.
Yeah, put her right in the freaking nuthatch for the rest of her life. Ugh.
Yeah, so it's almost like I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, the bad thing is everything happened at all. But I don't know if her being left alive would have been better for her.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Right. I don't know if I would wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I definitely feel ya. I mean, as brutal as it was, I mean, it's probably for the best.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have just gone out.
Yeah.
Just peace be with me. I don't want to live with the remnants of all that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know, it's crazy. All right, well, back in September of that year, President McKinley had been assassinated by Leon Czolgosz in Buffalo, New York. Now, Leon had been sentenced to death, and he was scheduled to be executed on Tuesday, October 29th at 7 a.m. Now, not wanting to bury Andrew with his murder victims, the town decided that that would be an excellent time for his funeral also. Monday night, a grave was dug, and at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, October 29th, the same time Leon was being put to death, the killer was placed with no fanfare, no ceremony, and no services into it. Later in the afternoon, his victims were given full church funeral rites and were laid to rest. There are no headstones for any of them. It is believed that they are all buried in the Riverside Cemetery in Iron River, but no records remain. It is believed Andrew is buried in the pauper section of the cemetery, in the unconsecrated or unblessed section at the edge of the cemetery. Traditionally, pauper sections were reserved for those that couldn't afford a burial and bodies that were left unclaimed and hardly ever received a headstone. It is believed the Lindstrom family is buried in the main part of the cemetery, All that is left is the tragic story of love gone wrong.
Wait a minute. Can we just talk about how disturbing the whole pauper section of cemeteries is? Like, literally, even way back in the day, there was a class system so screwed up that we even punished you in death if you didn't have money. That's bananas.
I know. I'm like, what the shit?
Yeah, that's disturbing to me, as well as the rest of the story.
You won't even give them that little
section of a cemetery back in the early 1900s. If you were broke, you didn't deserve love from the church. That's disturbing.
You got shit, is what you got. Unreal. Brutal. God.
Okay, I'm sorry. I veered off. That was disturbing just as much as the murder. See, you are desensitizing me to all this murder, and I'm like, well, whatever. A bunch of people got murdered by a crazy guy, but what's up with that?
I'm desensitized you.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, mayhem, murder, malice in the mitten. All right, yeah, check.
Right.
That's messed up that they buried paupers with nothing.
Now that I have a problem with.
Yeah. See, look what you're doing to me, Trace. Look what's happening.
I know it. I'm turning you to stone. Oh, God. Okay, here we go. Now, in a weird twist, it appears Amanda's brother, Gus, he would go on to marry Andrew's sister August 5th, years after the murders. Both were widows and had children by their previous spouses and would go on to have 2 more children between them. So isn't that interesting? Those families were back together yet again. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
It was a very small town, though. You did say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Slim pickings.
There's 200 of us here, people. Come on.
Yeah, right?
Maybe less. Who knows, right? Now, in some accounts, it is reported that Andrew had been operated on in 1899 for a tumor behind his eye, which was unsuccessful. He reportedly often complained of severe headaches and would occasionally turn to alcohol to dull the pain. Could it be the tumor, the stress of his in-laws meddling, and alcohol had contributed to his snapping? Or was the marriage destined to end in disaster anyway?
Well, obviously their love was destined to end. Totes. But I don't know. I mean, we'll never know because, these were all mysterious ways that this story is being told in the first place. However, he was obviously abusive the whole time because her family really wanted him out of the picture. So he was obviously a little bit batshit crazy to begin with.
Well, I think
back in the day, you needed a husband, and even though he was not up to their standards, he was still a husband. But she did fall in love with him. So how did she fall in love with him if he was so batshit crazy in the first place?
Well, I don't think he was. I don't think he was.
I have so many questions.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's just more malice.
Yeah. But see, I don't think he was because, it sounded like everybody liked him. He was a hardworking guy. I don't think he didn't start losing his shit until, could you imagine, right? You're married. You just get married. You've fallen head over heels. Who cares about the age gap? And her parents live legit right next door. So day in, day out, leave him, divorce him, we hate you, blah, blah. Who knows what the hell they were rambling on about on the daily. So I kind of think to myself, you know what? If he had a tumor behind his eye, right, we're looking at the frontal lobe could be, affected. So I don't know. I might kind of go toward the tumor and the daily hounding from the in-laws for his wife to leave him. That'd make me fucking bonkers too.
Yeah, I guess he was easily pushed over the edge with a brain injury. It's those brain injuries.
Yeah.
You're a murderer every time.
Yeah, I know. God help me. I hope I never fall and get a frontal lobe injury. That would be bad. Bad.
Well, that was back at the time when they would actually give you lobotomies thinking they were helping you. So
Right.
maybe he had a partial lobotomy when they tried to go for the tumor.
Yeah, who knows?
Ugh.
Oh, Andrew snapped.
Well, this is the 1900s snapped.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, if you found today's story interesting and would like to hear more, please continue to support us with a like and a share and subscribe. We appreciate you listening as always, so thank you. And we will see you guys back here on Wednesday for Round Robin. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.